What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be trying a full face of NYX Cosmetics. I have some brand new products here, including their new Lip IV Hydrating Gloss Serum. This looks really amazing. It sounds right up my alley, so I got a bunch of colors that we're going to try on, and I also got some of their new holiday stuff as well, and I'm going to mix it in with a couple of things that are a little bit older. So if that sounds good, keep on watching, and if you like honest makeup reviews with a focus on drugstore makeup and saving money, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and let's just jump into it. So first up, let's start with primer. This is the NYX Face Glue Gripping Primer. I guess this is sort of their version of Milk Makeup's Hydro Grip Primer. It seems like ever since Milk Makeup launched that, all the drugstore brands and a lot of even high-end brands are starting to come out with grippy primers. So I think Milk Makeup really started a trend there. But one of the things I love about NYX is that they put their own spin on it, at least. It comes in this cute little glue bottle, and you know, e.l.f. did a dupe, but it looked just like the Milk Makeup one. They really weren't even trying to hide it, but I like how NYX kind of has their own personality and they make their products a little bit more unique, even if it's kind of the same concept. So I definitely have to give them credit for that. This comes out of the tube white. It actually looks a lot like glue, but let's see what happens when you actually put it on your face. All right, so yeah, it turns clear pretty much right away, and then as you blend it in, it has that really similar feel to the one from Milk Makeup. It's maybe just slightly thicker, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, we'll have to see. But yeah, in my last video, I was actually talking about brands that just don't seem to have their own identities these days and how they're all kind of copying one another. But I have to say, NYX is one of those brands that I feel like they stand out. Even though they do copy other brands with certain things, they do add their own creative touch to things, and they just have a little bit more of a brand identity than some of these other ones who have just become like a dupe brand. And not only that, but I think NYX also tends to come out with some pretty unique and innovative products. So I think they're definitely one of the more creative brands at the drugstore. So far, this, I'm just gonna let it sit for a couple minutes just to let it get a little bit grippy. Usually that's what you're supposed to do with a product like this. So I'm gonna let that sit and just quickly fill in my brows. So this is the NYX Lift and Snatch brow pen, and those of you who watch my channel know how much I love this. This is basically the only product I use these days to fill in my brows, and I have this in the shade Ash Brown, which is the literal perfect shade for my brows. Having a natural hair color that is definitely on the ashy side, like my real hair color, is like my roots. It's like this mousy, ashy brown, and it is so hard to find brow products that aren't warm toned. I feel like almost everything has this warm, reddish undertone to it, and my natural hair is not like that at all. This shade is absolutely perfect, and I just love how natural this looks. Having a pen with a brush tip makes it so easy. You don't have to really apply any pressure at all. So I love this. Definitely a holy grail brow product. Okay, so the primer is definitely feeling more sticky. So for foundation, I'm gonna use the NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop foundation. And I got this in the shade Porcelain. I hope this is a good match for me. I just bought this at Target this morning, knowing that I was gonna do this video. And even though this is not a new product, it's new to me. I've never tried this foundation before. And I think what scared me away from it a little bit is it says that it's a full coverage foundation and that it has a matte finish, and I tend to shy away from formulas like that because I have really dry skin and I'm actually turning 47 this month. So I tend to favor like lighter coverage foundations these days. I just feel like they sit better on my skin. But I figured I would apply this with a damp beauty sponge. That way maybe I can sheer it out a little bit and it's not going to be quite as full coverage. So supposedly this Porcelain shade has more of a cool undertone, and I definitely think it's a pretty close match. I think once I blend it, it's actually gonna be perfect. It doesn't look super yellow on me, which is great. So, all right, I'm just gonna dot a little bit of this on, and I'm just gonna start patting this in. This sponge is from ColourPop. This was from their Valentine's Day collection last year, so it's like a little heart-shaped sponge. And I like it. It's a really squishy, soft sponge, so I use this one a lot. And I would say so far this foundation has about medium coverage when you're blending it with a sponge. It's not super heavy, super full coverage, and it's also not sheer. But I do love how thin and lightweight this formula feels. It's sinking right into my skin. It's not sitting on top heavy like a mask. And yes, the finish is definitely a little bit more matte, but I wouldn't say it's super matte. It takes down that shine of that sticky primer for sure. It looks a lot less shiny over here, but I still see the finish of my skin. It doesn't look flat matte like I put a powder on. So this looks surprisingly good. It's actually reminding me a little bit of Estee Lauder's Double Wear. So let me just zoom you guys in so you can see the difference. Okay, so here's the foundation over here. I think this is a really, really good color match. And then over here is without. So you can see a lot more shine. That's mostly from that primer. Normally my skin doesn't look that shiny, but you can see how it just took all of that down over on this side. And on top of the primer, it really looks flawless. It looks great, very smooth. It's not clinging to like dryness on my chin. It has pretty good redness coverage on my nose as well. So I'm actually surprised by this. I wasn't expecting to like it. I do think it's the type of formula that you have to make sure your skin is prepped really well and your skin is hydrated before you apply it. But I think it really packs a punch in terms of coverage without being heavy or thick. So I love that. Another cool thing about this foundation is I really don't think I have to blend it down into my neck. And so often I have to do that because a lot of foundations look kind of yellow on me or they're a little too dark. This is really like a perfect match. It's so good. So next, just to hide a little bit of the discoloration around my eyes, I want to use the Pro Fix Stick, and I have this in the pink shade. I probably should have applied this before I did my foundation, but I totally forgot. So one thing I really love about these Fix Sticks is they have great coverage, but they're super creamy and blend out really nicely. So I like to apply this to the outer corner of my eye where I have a little bit of shadow, and also the inner corner of my eye where I have that little bit of like blue discoloration. And I just like to pat this with a sponge. Sometimes I even just take my pinky finger and go in and pat it that way. But you can see just by doing those two things, the outer corner and the inner corner, and just kind of blending them out a little bit, look at how much fresher and more awake this eye looks than this one. This one has a lot of darkness around it. I just feel like this makes such a big difference, and because it's so thin and lightweight, it doesn't sink into fine lines or look heavy under my eyes. So again, I put the majority of the product here, and then I do blend it a little bit underneath, but it's just kind of the excess. So I don't put it directly under my eye. If you put too much there and you have wrinkles there when you smile like I do, then it's gonna settle. So I think it just depends on the person. I have a friend whose wrinkles are on the sides of her eyes when she smiles, so she likes to put it more underneath and blend out that way. So if you're somebody who struggles with concealer settling into fine lines, my biggest tip is to just put the concealer not where the lines are, and then just kind of blend it lightly toward that area. All right, moving on for eyes, I have a brand new palette. This is called the Ultimate Battle Plan palette. This is from Home Alone. They did a collab with them. So cute. One of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. This is one of their 16 shade eyeshadow palettes, and it has a beautiful color story. I mean, yes, it's a very neutral palette overall, but I love the pop of green. You have some rosy tones mixed with some warmer browns and neutrals. So it's just really pretty. There's a couple of cool shades along the bottom as well. And then here it is next to some of NYX's other palettes, just so you can see how similar or different they are. And I think, you know, when it comes to the neutrals, you're always going to have some overlap, but the overall color story definitely seems to stand on its own. So if you're worried about it being too close to some of NYX's other palettes, I don't think you're going to find that. This does have some unique shades in it, and it actually kind of reminds me of like some of the vibes of the Lorac Fairy Tale Forest palette, which is one of my favorites of all time and one of my favorites from Lorac. So that's probably one reason why I was drawn to this one. So I think to start, I'm going to pick up this light warm brown that's in the upper corner. And to blend this, I'm using the BK Beauty 201 brush. I know BK Beauty is having a big sale for Black Friday. I think it's already started, 30% off site-wide. So I'll be sure to link the brushes that I'm using on the screen. You can just tap that little products thing and everything will pop up, or it'll also be down in the description box below. BK Beauty also just upped my code. It used to be 10% and now it's 30%, so it's Jen Phelps 30. And you can use that if for some reason the sale isn't going on when this video goes up. You could try using that and save the 30% that way. It's just a super good time to buy their brushes if you've been wanting to try them. So Anyway, this is blending out really nicely. And a couple things I really love about NYX eyeshadows. One is that they blend really easily, but they're not powdery. There's not kick up going everywhere. I find that issue with Milani's eyeshadows, Wet n Wild. They're just so powdery. Some of the e.l.f. shadows could be like that too. But NYX, I think that the shadows just grip to your skin really well. And in doing so, that's kind of the second thing I love about them is they're super long lasting. Whenever I do an eye look with the NYX eyeshadow palettes, it lasts the entire day. Even if I don't wear primer, even if I don't set it with anything, it just holds up beautifully. And I think that they're the perfect blend of being pigmented, but not overly pigmented where it takes you forever to blend. You can build them up if you want to, but they just give that perfect like medium intensity. So next for my lid, I think I want to use both of these shades. I want to use the chocolatey brown shimmer on the outer lid going to the middle, and then this rosy brown from the inner corner to the middle. So I'm just going to pick these up with my finger. I'm going to start with the chocolatey brown shade, and I'm just going to pat that right on the outer third of my eye and just kind of start working that toward the center. You can see how pigmented these shadows are. They really pack a punch. Then I'm just going to take this little mini A502 brush from BK Beauty, and I'm just going to go along the top edge of that and start blending it out. This brush is great because it's a fluffy brush, like a crease brush, but it's super small. So if you have to do kind of a little bit of detail work or you have hooded eyes, it's great for that. This shade is definitely giving smoky eye, but keeping it a little bit softer. I just love a good chocolatey brown shade. That is so pretty. Just gonna do the same thing to the other eye. I wanna mention that even though this is a shimmer shade, it's not metallic. It's kind of more like a satiny shade. It does have these tiny little like micro glitters in it, but they sort of blend away mostly when you start going in to blend with a brush. So even though this is technically a shimmer shade, it's really soft. All right, then I'm gonna take the A503 brush from BK Beauty. So compared to the first one that I used, the 201, this is just slightly smaller and it's not as rounded. It's a little bit more pointed. So I like to use this one once I'm done just to kind of blend the top edge and just make sure that everything looks a little bit more seamless. All right, then I'm gonna pick up that beautiful rosy brown on my ring finger. This is the shade I think that spoke to me the most in this palette. It's so beautiful. And I'm just gonna start patting that on the inner corner and working it toward the back. This is gonna look so pretty against that chocolatey brown. So that just blends really seamlessly right into that brown shade, but it kind of adds a little bit of lightness to it. So next then I just wanna pick up this sparkly white, and I think I'm just gonna pop this right in the center of my lid just to kind of brighten everything up a little bit more. So I'm just patting that right kind of in the middle, in the seam where those two shades meet each other. And it just gives a little pop of sparkle. That is so beautiful. I'm really loving the way this palette is performing. I don't know that I necessarily get Home Alone from this color story. I mean, I guess some of these shades are used in their house. Like their house has that really 90s decor, and I can kind of see that vibe. Plus it has the red and green like for Christmas time. So I don't know. I honestly, if I were gonna do a Home Alone palette, I have no idea what colors I would choose. And I feel like the red and this beige color look just like Kevin's hat that he wears, like those two colors together. So I kind of see like little references here and there. Honestly, I don't know what color story I would do for a Home Alone palette, but either way, I think this is really pretty. I know I just did a very basic look, but I think you could definitely make some gorgeous holiday looks with the green and the gold and all of that. So when it comes to mascara, unfortunately, I don't have one from NYX, so I'm just gonna use the e.l.f. Lash Extender Tubing Mascara. I figured I'd just keep it drugstore, but I feel like mascara is one of the categories when it comes to NYX that, I don't know, I've just never really found a favorite. I do think it would be awesome if they would come out with a tubing mascara though, because like everybody else has at this point, so I'd love to see what they would do with that. All right, let's move on to face. I have the Buttermelt Face Palette. This comes in two different versions. So there's a light medium, which is the one that I have, and then there's also a deep version as well. So in here you have two shades of the Buttermelt blushes and then one of their Buttermelt bronzers. The Buttermelt blushes and bronzers are some of my top favorites at the drugstore. They're just incredible. They blend so effortlessly. They're like a high-end formula, and the shades that they come in are perfect as well. The bronzers bronzers have that beautiful rosy undertone in the cooler shades that looks so natural on me, and the blushes, they're just so stunning. So I love having these 3 shades in one palette, and I like that they gave you a cool blush or a warm blush, so you can use either one depending on what you want to do. So I'm going to start with the bronzer first. So the bronzer in this palette is the shade All Buttered Up, and that's the second to lightest bronzer. So it's like the light medium shade. And like I said, these are so gorgeous. It has that beautiful rosy undertone that kind of just looks like I got a little bit too much sun. One thing to note, if you haven't tried this formula before, it does have a little bit of a coconutty scent to it. So if you don't like fragranced products, then I just wanted to put that out there, or if you react to them. But as far as like the scent goes, once it's on my face, I don't really smell it anymore. It smells pretty similar to the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, but I don't think the NYX one is quite as strong. Also, I'm applying this with the BK Beauty 107 brush. This is such a workhorse. I use this for all of my face products. I use it for creams, I use it for powder, blush, bronzer, whatever I'm applying. It's perfect. I love that it's kind of like a narrow shape like this because you can really just get it right along your cheekbones. I'm not a fan of brushes that are too big. Like I use this big one for setting powder, like if I'm gonna be doing my whole face, but I like this one because it's smaller and it just fits like right in my cheek area right here, but it's so fluffy, it's not too dense, so it blends out products better than just about anything that I have. All right, so for blush, I'm kind of torn. I feel like my eye look is a little bit warm. I use that chocolatey brown. I think the peach would work really well, but at the same time, that other shade that I used is kind of like a pinky, mauvey, almost like rose gold. So that's a little bit on the cooler side. I don't know. Maybe I'll use the cool tone pink because I think if I mix it with that bronzer shade, like if I put it right on top, it's gonna kind of warm it up a little bit. So let's see. This is the shade Getting Butta, by the way. I think I have the single of this one. It's super pretty. And every time I use these, I just can't get over how easily they blend. They're just so seamless. Honestly, better than just about any high-end blush that I have. When these blushes first launched, I did a try-on video and I showed all the different colors on my skin. So if you're curious, I'll link that video right at the very end of this one so you can see what they all look like on me. All right, perfect. So this color I think worked out really well. I love it. So next, let's try out the new lip glosses. I am so excited for these. Again, they're called the Lip IV Hydrating Gloss Serum. So let me just show you the shades that I got. I got 6 colors altogether. I mainly stuck to the lighter colors and the shades that I felt like I was gonna wear the most often. So these claim to be a staining gloss with water-breaking technology to deliver lightweight, intense pigments with a unique sensorial, lip-refreshing feel. They're also supposed to hydrate with magnesium, vitamin B12, and coconut water. And again, they're supposed to leave a little bit of a stain behind, which I think is so super cool. I'm always looking for lip stains that are a little bit more hydrating because I have really dry lips. So I want to go ahead and do lip swatches of all the shades so you can see what they look like on. And I'm going to be removing them with a wet wipe. So hopefully that'll take all of the color off. Whenever something stains, I worry about doing lip swatches because I feel like it could affect the color of the next one a little bit if there's something left behind. So hopefully these don't do that. So this is shade number 1, which is Caramel Drip. Not sure that I'm really a fan of this yellowy brown color necessarily, but the formula feels really nice. It's like a thick lip gloss. It's got just a little bit of that slightly tacky feel. It's not overly sticky, but it feels really hydrating and super comfortable. So again, this is the shade Caramel Drip. All right, the next shade is number 2, Hydra Honey. Then shade number 3 is Splash and Spice. So far, these are all brown shades. Okay, finally a pink. We have number 7, Bubblegum Burst. This next one is number 9, Blush Rush. And then the last shade that I got is number 12, Burst That Tang. Okay, so even removing these with the wet wipe, I still feel like it left a little bit of a stain behind on my lips, so that's a good thing in terms of longevity and all of that. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and put shade number 2, Hydra Honey, back on. And I have to say, as far as the formula goes, I really like it. I think this is going to be hit or miss for some people. I think, you know, they do have that little bit of tackiness. So if you don't like that feeling, you may not like these. To me, they almost feel like a gel. Maybe that's where the serum part comes in. They have that sort of jelly, grippy sort of texture, almost like this, but for your lips, you know, like that little bit of a grippy kind of film on your lips. But I think that's what's going to make them so long lasting, and they feel super comfortable, not even the slightest bit drying. And I noticed that even after only wearing it for just like 20 seconds, when I went to take it off, there was already a stain left behind. So my gut feeling is even when that glossiness wears away, you're going to have a stain that lasts for a while. I would say if like I had to compare it to like the Milani glossy stains or the Kulfi ones, those don't feel quite as thick or sticky. I think those are a little bit thinner. They have that traditional lip gloss feel, while these just feel a little bit more cushiony. And I think, again, if you're someone like me that has dry lips, these are gonna feel really, really nice. To me, these are like a lot of the K-Beauty glossy lip stains that I've tried. One that comes to mind is like the Peri Para ones. They have that thicker, almost gel-like consistency that a lot of the American brands don't have. So I do think that right now, these are a pretty unique product in this market. I don't know of anything that's exactly like this at the drugstore currently. There might be some like within the high-end brands. I haven't tried every glossy lip stain that's out there, but these are a bit more unique and different just in the way that they sort of hug your lips and they have that sort of dewy, cushiony, sticky feel. But hopefully just me trying them on helped you guys out as far as what color to choose. It's really hard to know just from the website. So anyway, here's my finished look. To be honest, I'm happy with literally everything that I tried today, from the foundation to the lip products. The palette was really nice. The blush palette is gorgeous as well. Even when it comes to the face glue, I think the NYX foundation sat really nicely on top of it. Unfortunately, this is also my first time trying this, so I don't know what this would be like without the face glue. I'm gonna have to put this to the test a little bit more, but so far, at least it didn't make the foundation look terrible. So we'll give it that. I think it actually made it look really good. And also, since I'm trying out a bunch of new stuff today, I wanna do a wear test just to see how the foundation holds up, the lip product, the eyeshadow, although those usually don't disappoint me. So anyway, guys, I will see you all in about 8 or 9 hours and we'll do a quick check-in. Hey guys, it is currently 8:33 p.m. So it's been close to 8 hours since I applied everything. And I just wanna let you know how it's all holding up. So let's talk about the Lip IV first, because this stuff, it really does stain and I still see color on my lips. I feel like it's worn off just a little bit, like especially on my top lip. But right after I filmed the try on, I ended up going and eating lunch. So I had something to eat and something to drink. And I would say like an hour and a half after I applied the lip product, I'll show you quickly just a quick video that I took of what it looked like. It still looked really good. I still even had a little bit of the glossiness. I think because it has that sticky texture, it just kind of clung on even through eating and drinking, which was pretty incredible. And I found that that was just really slow to wear off throughout the day. Even right now, like if I press my lips together, there's just like the ever so slightest bit of tackiness, but it never completely dried down all the way. And if that were a blush, I probably would not be happy about it, but because it's a lip product, I feel like because it didn't completely dry down, my lips stayed hydrated. I don't feel like they're dry. They don't feel uncomfortable, but you will have to put up with just the tiniest little bit of kind of like tackiness throughout the day. I don't think it's as bad as like the stickiest lip glosses, but you are gonna feel it just a little bit. It has faded a bit, but considering that there's still color there, I think it did a really amazing job. So I'm super impressed with the lip product. As far as the eyeshadow goes, this pretty much looks as good as it did when I first applied it, and I've had great luck with these NYX palettes. Like I said earlier in the video, I think they just hold up so well. So super happy with that. The blush and bronzer have definitely faded over the course of the day, but I feel like it's just more recently when I did like little check-ins here and there, just checking in the mirror every time I went in the bathroom or something. You know, I felt like they held up a good part of the day and really just started to fade in the last like maybe 2 hours or so, but I can still see them, so it's not like they're completely gone. And when it comes to the foundation, this, I think, is probably my least favorite. It's not terrible. And I think from far away, like if I look in the mirror, you know, a few feet away, it actually looks really nice. It's when I get up close to my skin, I can see the pores and texture just a little bit more than I could before. So I think like over the course of the day, it has settled in just a little bit. And I'm not sure if that's because the face glue, if maybe I had worn like a pore smoothing primer or something to fill those in, if this might have held up a little bit better. But at a minimum, it doesn't look dry, it doesn't look cakey, and I'm so happy about that because being a matte finish foundation, and especially that it's supposed to be really long wearing, I thought it was gonna look super dry or dry out my skin, and my skin still looks really good. So I think a little bit of settling into pores and lines is pretty normal for a foundation, and this does have extremely long wear because it didn't even really wear off on my nose. I can still see foundation everywhere I put it. I think it's holding up really well. And the fact that it settled into my pores a little bit is honestly a minor complaint at this point. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts. Are you planning on trying any of these NYX products? Are you planning on skipping them? Let me know your thoughts as always. And if you'd like to see that video that I talked about where I tried on all the shades of the Buttermelt blush, I'll put that right up here on the screen. And I'll also put another video that you might want to check out right over here as well. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and I really hope I'll see you in my next video. Take care, guys. Bye.